Happy New Year, everyone. 2023. It's URC Unloaded, baby. We're on Viaplay. We're back. Try something new. It's myself, Tom Shanklin, who's weighing in at 110 kilos. And Stevie do the same, but probably pretty chuffed with that. Lads, we'll get into Christmas. We'll get into New Year in a second. But we have a guest, our second player guest. Who started
baby.
Josh Turnbull. How are you? Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, mate. How are you?
I'm good. Are you trying to... We're trying to figure out which shirt's on the wall. There's no Scarlets one. Let's start with that. What did they do wrong?
No, it's somewhere. It's just not in this room.
Doormat somewhere.
We're going to test your strength now. You're holding your phone, aren't you? So we're going to have to see how long you can hold it for. Without shaking too much.
Mental grip strength. Josh, we'll move on. Just, I guess, from me, thoughts on the season so far. It's been, I guess last year was probably a reasonably hard year. There's a lot of bad news stories we talk about on here, a fair bit around Welsh rugby. It seems that Cardiff seem to be, I guess, shining the light for Welsh rugby at the moment, certainly.
Oh, yeah. I think if you go back 12 months to last season, it was pretty rough. We didn't have any consistency in any of our performances. I think I remember Shanks calling us out once or twice on in punditry. And
John called you spineless, mate. No, John called you spineless for that game against Benetton. I
hadn't sleep that night. I was tired.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. We went to Edinburgh, got thumped up there, couldn't get a string of performances together. I think this season we came in and we just said, look, let's look to get better each week. Take each week as they come and not look too far ahead, and that's what we've done. And we obviously had a disappointing result against Glasgow away, and they got thumped by the Bulls. But other than that, I think we've been in the other performances in the other games, and we put performances in.
Can you put your finger on anything, Josh? Other than the fact you've taken a more week-to-week approach, a bit more consistency. Is there anything you've done? Di's done, the squad, the guys coming in, I guess, or is it a combination of all that stuff?
We did have a long, hard look at ourselves in the summer in terms of what our culture looks like and how we behave in and around the environment. And that's been a big thing that, we've all had to buy into if we want to be successful. The best teams all behave in certain way and they do things a certain way. And, I guess that if you want to be successful, you've got to have as many people on the same page as possible.
Yeah, just sort of you take the little pub incident out of that and it's been fine. I agree with you. Well,
back of that, we actually come together pretty well because I think I guess if it'd be easy for us to just roll over against the Scarlets at the week after that, and everyone would have been on our back. Oh, look, there's they're in a pretty shit position, but it was a case of look, we have to start changing some perceptions around the place and what people think of us, and there's no better way to do that than a derby game, and off the back of that, we were on a bit of a roll then.
Do you think a couple of the players that weren't selected for the autumn campaign that were close on the cusp? Do you think that sort of spurred them on because there's been some huge performances from some of the players that were maybe rightly deserved a spot? Carey, Thomas Young, both of them, yourself.
I think there's a couple more. Jared Evans, Seb Davis. They've been in and around the environment for a number of years now, knocking on the door of that Welsh team. And you're always going to be disappointed when you don't make selection. And I guess they had a point to go and prove. And I think if you look at someone like Carey, I've said it a couple of times now. The French team aren't asking Uno Antonio not to be 145 kilos because he goes and melts everything that's in his way and steam trucks everyone with a scrum, and he's a big ball carrier for them. We're not blessed in Wales with big men, so why try and change him from something he's doing really well with it as well. He's a big ball carrier for us at Cardiff. Can put in game-changing shots when he's on the money, and his scrum has been outstanding this year. Obviously, the weekend it didn't go so well, but apart from that, he's been on top form.
Josh, you said just about at the start of the season you had a long, hard look at yourselves, and I'm sure there was a bit of reflection after last season. But now you obviously find yourself in the top 8. What has it been like as the season's progressed? Is there now the chat that okay, now we're in the top 8, we have to stay here, we have to get to a quarter final. Has the perspective of the season changed? As game by game, as you guys are getting better?
There's never been a target in terms of, the target for us has always been to be better than what we were last year. And I think week by week we're striving to get better. I think at one point we're 5th in the table. One result puts you back down to 8th, so it's quite tightly contested in that middle of the pack. But we know that if we're on top week by week and we put performance in, then we can match anyone. Look, we've beaten the Stormers already this year. We beat Leinster last year. We've beaten the Sharks. We put some pretty decent performances in. Got some pretty decent results. All we've got to strive to do is keep getting better week by week, keep getting our performances better. And if that puts us in the top 8, we haven't really spoken as a group about like challenging for trophies or anything like that. It's just about us getting better. And if we end up in the top 8, then that's where we'll be.
Josh, how long have you got left on your contract?
I've got another 18 months, maybe 2
years. Lovely. That's why he's smiling, isn't he? That's why he's smiling. I'm just wondering how you genuinely, because we played together for a couple of years. You're still playing, clearly. I just wonder, you the guys won't know, you used to do berserk stuff, walk around with oxygen, altitude mask on and almost fainting when you had your shoulders in slings. You tried everything to keep yourself, I guess, fit, trying new ideas out, new concepts out. Are you still pushing the boundaries there? You've always been incredibly fit, or are you just into a groove of enjoying where you are, enjoying your rugby?
No, I still strive to try and be one of the fittest guys in the team. I think that's just the mindset that, that's me. And I know that that's probably one of my IDPs or X factors is that I'm, super fit and that I'll always keep going until the end. But I think as you get older, you start to appreciate that, you don't have as long left in the game. And at the moment, I'm enjoying it more than ever. And I guess that's why I'm still playing the way I am. And, all I say to any of the youngsters coming through, enjoy it for as long as you can, because you really don't know when it's going to end.
Tell me about it. You still spewing in the fitness test? Running beside the boys spewing and then keep running? One of those guys. Yeah. I'm beside you.
The booze coming out. That's the booze coming out.
Yeah.
What's the hardest thing, Josh, about being captain at Cardiff, apart from having to chat to me pre-game, because you're the only one I ever get?
He needs to be quite down about that, because he throws it on me last minute. Mind.
We did one with Lloyd Williams again. We won't use him. We're back to you.
Yeah, that one didn't go too well.
What's the biggest challenges you got as captain?
At the moment in Welsh rugby is trying to keep the boys who are out of contract, in a same place, really, because there's a lot of uncertainty around, and just maybe having those 1 or 2 conversations a week with players, just to make sure, tapping in and making sure they're all right, and trying to, I've been around long enough to know I've seen a couple of different situations in Welsh rugby that I can lend them my thoughts and hopefully help put them in a better place, really. And I think the sooner it's sorted out, the better, really.
Just on that, Josh, is anything on that? Because we read about it, we see, I guess, the bad news stories that the Wales Online's desperate to write anything bad about what's going on. Is there information you guys are getting? Because it seems entirely stressful for players, and I can only imagine guys are off contract. We're seeing guys leaving. What's the kind of narrative behind the scenes like?
Oh, look, at the moment it's pretty quiet. We haven't heard anything for a number of weeks now. I think it was just before Christmas was the last time we heard anything. So, we're pushing 3 weeks without hearing anything from anyone, and it'd probably be a case of knocking on the door and finding out what the crack is now. And I know in other regions and in our own players, some players have been told that there's nothing available for them in our club or the other clubs then. And which is disappointing. Because I think you've got to account for the number of injured players you carry in a squad at any one time. Say it's, can be up to 25% of your players can be injured or away with international duty. And then, so you're trying to cut squads down, but how are you going to be competitive if you haven't got the players in your squads? And that's our biggest thing. It's like, we don't just want to be surviving. We want to be competing, and that's what we've been saying to our CEO, that as a region at the moment, we're competing. We don't want to go into survival mode after this. We want them to come up with the goods so that we can continue to compete for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And it's pretty tough at the moment.
Josh, tell us a little bit about Dai, about what type of character he is, what he's like about the place. He's obviously a former player, so I'm sure he gets it. Some coaches and managers don't, but what type of personality is he like to work with? He's
quite quiet actually in and around training. We don't see much of him. At the breakfast table, he's full of beans. He's always having a laugh, a joke with the boys.
Literally,
he's filling his boots. You mean?
Yeah, always at the breakfast table. I bet always there, first there, last out.
He wants the boys to succeed, and he's in this situation, he's fighting hard for the boys, and he's obviously got a lot of work going on with that. And but I think what he brings a lot of. He's got a lot of nous. He's an old head. He knows the game inside out, and I think that he's starting to like build a squad at Cardiff that we fight for everything, and that whenever we're playing a game, we're coming away with something. Whether it's if it's a losing bonus point or we're coming away with a W. He's kind of instilled that in the boys that we have to fight for everything, and it was kind of like that on the weekend against the Ospreys. They never really, last year that game probably would have got away from us, but on the weekend it was just it could have been anyone's game in the end. They just got it.
What do you put that down to? Do you think it was affected a little bit by the weather? Because you got a better attack than the Ospreys, but when the weather came down, it came down really, really hard. It sort of the game closed up a little bit. It became a lot more about the set piece. It became a lot more about the line out, and then obviously a lot of penalties your end, which you don't necessarily associate with Cardiff too much, giving 17 penalties away.
Yeah, and a lot of them came in the second half as well. And to be fair to them, they started the second half probably a little bit better than we did. And then it just felt like it was a conveyor belt of they'd get an hour 22, we'd get a turnover, we'd kick the ball out for a line out, we'd throw a knot straight, or we'd make an error, and then we'd have a scrum, and then it'd be penalty them, kick the corner, and it'd just be a bit of a cycle like that. And when your back's against the wall like that, it's tough to get out of that sort of cycle. And then you get an opportunity to exit the ball, and you don't get it off the park, and you end up giving a yellow card away. And it can be pressure, can be a funny thing, and it can, once it starts to add up and build up, and it can eventually the dam will bust, and it did with us on the weekend.
Were you aware that you had no hookers on the field to throw the ball at the end? Because I was doing commentary and I was like, wouldn't they go for post? Wouldn't they go for the win? Wouldn't they go for the corner? But then you actually thought about it. I thought they've got no one to throw the ball in.
The scrum had been under a little bit of pressure. We had 3 front rowers on there, but we were still under a bit of pressure. Fair dues to Corey Don, put his head in that hooker position. I wouldn't want to do it. So, and then it's just, I think like, some teams have that third guy who can throw the ball in, and we probably hadn't. It wasn't a problem we'd have to come across before. So it's something we've solved now. But it cost us 5 meters from our own try line, and they ended up getting a turnover from it. So it's a quite technical position, and I guess that next time we'll be prepared for that. Hopefully there won't be a next time, but
hopefully not. Josh, will let you.
Like I said, it's like we had to go. Like, couldn't really kick a corner, go for line out, and didn't really have a scrum. No. So second best option, go for a draw, get something out of it.
There we are. Josh, I'll let you crack on. I'll let you go get your Scarlets shirt on the wall behind you. Dig it out. Thanks for your time, mate. Good luck, Cardiff. Good luck, mate. Genuinely, it's awesome to see you playing so well. So good luck for the rest of the year, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you soon. I'm sure Shank's got an interview with you soon before a game.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah. There we go. Josh Turnbull. It's always a bit depressing when you meet someone who's still playing and you think, maybe that could be me, but just about me. It's not really about me, is it? Lads,
I looked at Jamie Roberts like that my whole career.
Oh, you're not saying ages, are you? How old is Josh? Josh be 35 odd. Anyway, let's look back first. Let's look back to Christmas. We've not said it. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Best presents?
Present I bought for myself, wrapped and presented to myself. A new pair of boots for the rugby season. Keep my feet warm, right?
Lovely. Des?
Yeah. I got a knife sharpener. It's very good. It's none of these IKEA jobs. It's top of the range. So you strap it to the table, one pull through, and that's it. Sharp.
The knife now, yeah. The knife now. What about you, John? What did you get, John?
Best present, I bought it for myself, and my wife wrapped it. It was a skiing jacket. Going skiing in March, so you ski jacket.
You want that course?
I thought you were going to Bali. Yeah. You're not going to Bali?
Yeah, mate, going to both. Don't worry about that. We're going to both. Bright white, all in one ski suit. No, it's not. Any New Year's resolutions?
Lose weight.
I was going to say
I can.
Yeah, obvious one.
I do more cardio. I need to do more cardio, but I can't run because I've got my knees knackered. So I just got to do rowing or bike. We got into rowing, didn't we, Fez, in COVID and lockdown?
Yeah, but my back's busted now. I can't row or ski erg or anything because of my back. Ski erg.
Yeah, you can't even do that with your back.
No, my back, flares up. So I'm like you, Shanks. I'm really, really struggling for any type. Just walking, going for a 10K walk. It's so exciting.
Go play some golf.
Yeah, play more golf. That's my resolution. Play more golf. Get my handicap lower than 6.5. Right.
I always say mine's going to be more patient with the kids, and then I scream at the kids about a few minutes later. So I'm not going to try that one again. We talk about some rugby then. The weekend's games. You all would have obviously been watching the big one, Glasgow, Edinburgh. Well, some game, lads. I'm telling you.
You were there.
I was there with Big Jim. Ryan Wilson was there. He was in the studio.
What did Jim have on his feet?
Oh my god!
What were they? I don't know if they were like weightlifting shoes or
they were like
driving shoes.
They were. I was going to say they're a combination of weightlifting shoes and slippers, and I don't know what they were, but he was dead chuffed with them, so we let him have that. But did you see it? You wouldn't have seen him when we had to try and eat the biscuits, and he wouldn't do it because he's gluten intolerant. I thought that's pathetic.
Self-diagnosed. One of them.
His New Year's resolution should be don't eat. I was going to say something I shouldn't have said there. Anyway, we'll move on. I don't know if you saw the game. Glasgow. I called it. They're going to win 2 in a row, and they did. I got them right finally. They were awesome. Genuinely, I'm not going to go out and say they're title contenders, but it's the best I've seen them play in 2 games. They were brilliant at home in a kind of scrappy game. They scored some quality tries. Every part of their game was good. Discipline. They scored some mental X factor tries. This guy Tom Jordan here, he had a great game. Great game at 10. Tui Pilotu and that guy Bailanu. Yeah. Small picture on my screen. He scores a mental. They're honestly, if you question marks there, if they've turned the corner, I was like, yeah, they 100% have. Unbelievable. Genuinely, they were that good.
But wasn't it Edinburgh like played better in the first half?
Yeah, they played well.
Sort of thought,
and then they didn't get much on the board. And then it was a tight game. But Glasgow just scored like 3 tries like that in the second half in a space of 10 minutes. Edinburgh got sin-binned. Marshall Sykes got sin-binned. And Edinburgh are up against it now. They've lost 5 out of 6 in the league. They're really in bad shape now. The Munster lost at home. They lost to Benetton away against 14 men. Lions at home. They've been out of shape. And then 2 derbies in a row. They're really struggling. Go on, Shanks.
John, whose call is it to play at Murrayfield? Because if you're going to do that, it just makes sense to play both games at Murrayfield because you're losing a home advantage at the damn health.
Yes.
It's far nicer comforts, and there'd be players that would far more enjoy playing at Murrayfield because they played there internationally. It feels like home to them. It's not as intense. You lose the atmosphere, even though a lot of people turned up. It's still a massive stadium, and the sound is lost.
Jim Hamilton mentioned that actually. You're obviously thinking like him. He, I And I hadn't really thought about it, to be honest. It would just be a money spinning thing, I would guess. They had 27,000 there. They'll get, I think the health holds 7. So from a financial point of view, they would assume that would be the driver for Edinburgh, for the Union. But yeah, I mean, even at home, you still hope that Edinburgh. I thought Edinburgh were probably favourites on paper, but on field, Glasgow were. And again, I think it was a tale of two different teams. Glasgow stood up and were counted, were real physical. That Vailanu is a quality player in the back row, actually. Jack Dempsey played well. Richie Gray played well. All the big players stood up, and Edinburgh they kind of toiled. They toiled. Mike Blair looked kind of pretty shell-shocked after the second one, actually.
John, just on Blair Kinghorn, he's obviously playing out half, and Edinburgh just announced today that they've signed Ben Healy from Munster. Do you reckon that the Kinghorn trial at out half for the last 6-7 months will be sort of put to the side and he'll return to the back three or wherever he's going to play? Or what's your thoughts on the Ben Healy signing?
I guess first thing first, I don't think he'll move to the back three, just given who Edinburgh have got there. Baffelli's playing there. They got Houston on their wing, Damien Hoyland, Immelman. Would he be in their first choice back three? I don't know. Maybe he would. It's good to have options. I actually see him as moving into the midfield at some point, and I don't know if that would be fair on him to ask him to move from 11 to 15 to 10 to 13, whatever. But I don't know. I feel like the longer it's gone on, he hasn't played particularly well in the two derbies, but Edinburgh haven't either. So I think it's slightly unfair to judge him on those. I kind of felt like he was getting into a bit of a groove, particularly for Edinburgh. And I guess on the Ben Healy signing, they've been desperate for an option at 10 there. Jaco van der Vaart hasn't really been given game time there, so it's kind of all fallen on Blair's shoulders to front that. So you'd have watched him play far more than I would, Stevie. Certainly he was talked about a couple of years ago for coming over. He was talked about, and he stayed, didn't he, because he had Ireland aspirations, but that his career seems to have stalled slightly in Ireland, and he's jumping across the pond to see what he can do in Scotland, obviously.
Yeah. He's jumping across it. He signed a 1-year contract extension with Munster, and I suppose he thought he was going to get a lot more game time. Obviously, Joey Carberry's number 2 for Ireland. Then Jack Crowley comes into the picture, and now he's potentially number 2 for Ireland or number 1 for Munster. So I think Ben Healy in his kind of tweet that he put out today was, he has aspirations in the game and goals that he wants to hit as a professional rugby player. And I'm assuming one of those is to play international rugby, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen in Ireland. So the option to jump across to Edinburgh and potentially play for Scotland, it seems a much more realistic option. So fair play to him. I know we'll crack on with the Ulster game, but he was probably one of the game changers in the Ulster versus Munster game when he come on and Jack Crowley moved to 12. So it was a cracking last 10 minutes of the match. The rest of the game, not particularly great, John, but it's a bit like Edinburgh, Ulster in a bit of a hole at the minute.
Yeah, well, we see the tries here. I mean, I watched the game and I thought Ulster were all in control, but then they just couldn't get away. And then great break.
Shouldn't be going through. Shouldn't be going through there.
Good defense. Henderson there misses him 3 missed. I think he misses more. He's got 5, 6 as it goes on. And then when Munster getting behind, you see so many teams. Most teams score here, don't they? I mean, my frustration is that you could see it in every game, and you could pick almost 5 penalties per ruck.
Look how many Ulster players are there, which they have to be there because you've got a double team tacklers. There's space elsewhere, and it's just making the right decision about getting the ball there at the right time.
I thought he was a bit close for the conversion. Anyone else think that?
No.
What? Sorry.
Oh yeah. He was actually quite close.
He took his time, like he took his time. The boys
Yeah.
nearly charged it down.
Big balls.
Well, it's something about Ulster, like it's just infuriating, is that they've got a number of games won, and they do their best to throw it away. And I know Dan McFarland, we're going to cover it actually on Saturday when over for the Edinburgh Zebra game. Have a look at a few things, but the amount of missed tackles, 1v1 missed tackles, Stockdale so far off the pace. Balakoon wasn't really involved in the game. Couldn't get him involved in the game. Billy Burns is struggling to pull the strings. The back row is mix mash every week. Greg Jones had a shocker in the back row. Vermeulen, their marquee signing, we're not seeing them. Like you look at the other big teams, lads, like You look at Munster when they're playing very well. Peter O'Mahony gets man of the match all the time. Leinster, Keelan Doris, Josh van der Fleer, like the more man of the match trophies in their house than they've had Sunday dinners. Like it just Ulster, there's not a standout 3 or 4 players on a weekly basis. It's just like maybe one guy, Tom Stewart, the hooker, put his hand up for a couple of weeks and then he played average enough at the weekend. Like there needs to be 7, 8 lads that are consistently knocking the door down for that man of the match award. And it's just not happening. Like, and Dan McFarlane, you maybe touch on it, John, about his post-match interview comments saying we look careless, as in we look like we didn't care. And when he said we, not they. So he did cover himself in terms of not just specifically blaming the players. I think he's blaming himself. He's blaming the coaches, the S&C staff, the whole organisation that getting themselves into the position to win the match and then losing it is a collective responsibility. And they got to fix it. Like, I don't know what you think about this weekend, about Ulster going to Benetton, but it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, I'd say so. I was going to, I know we're talking about the league here, but obviously they got their pants pulled down in that European game in the first half, and they came back and they scored some tries and they did okay. I was really surprised by some of the players putting out, social media posts about the fight and how great they'd done. I was like, lads, you conceded almost 40 points in the first half. It was just really interesting for me that they were happy almost to get that losing bonus point, and we showed guts and fight. And I was like, that's, for a team as big as Ulster, the way I perceive Ulster and the expectations they should and probably do have, and certainly Dan would have of that team and the players they've got. You mentioned some of them there. Pretty disappointing for me. If I was an Ulster fan, I saw that, I'd be thinking, we're happy to.
That's a team that's struggling for form, like down the bottom of the table, sort of 15th, 16th.
Yeah,
you get a point, and look, we never gave up, guys. Stick with us, but not a team. You're right, not a team you associate with Ulster of being at the top tier and games they should want. Something's not right there. Do you think it comes down, Stevie, to Dan McFarlane? Or has it come down to recruitment, which I suppose he plays a massive factor in, or is it down to the players just not performing?
I think obviously the easy answer is to say it's a combination of all. But Jared Payne's left. He went to Claremont. Everybody's saying, the worst thing that's happened to Ulster Rugby this season is that we've lost Jared Payne. Jared Payne is Claremont aren't doing too great. Shipped 32 points at home to Toulouse, on Saturday or Sunday. Just passed. So, it's not the defensive coach's responsibility for guys missing one-on-one tackles. Like, these are Grand Slam winners. These are guys, your seasoned pros. I just think they're really struggling to get across the gain line. In attack, you don't have a 2 or 3 lads in the back row that are consistently getting them over the gain line. The second rows, Ian Henderson from playing in the back row a little bit harder. Their bench is quite weak. I just think it's a combination of everything. But the first thing that you said when you talked about Ulster, Shanks, is just confidence. Like it is low. Like, and when you get spanked 40 points by Leinster in the second half, you get spanked 39 points by Sale, you get pumped by nearly 40 points against La Rochelle. You just kind of look around and go, what the hell is going on? And that's the last thing I want to touch on, is it feels like there's a lack of leadership and on the pitch, how to change things. Change the flow of a game, make the right decision at the right time so that you don't let the opposition get their tails up once again. It just feels like there's nobody grabbing the game by the throat, by the nuts.
Balls.
Yeah, that's what I was supposed to say. And they're currently finding themselves now 4 losses out of the last 5, and if they go to Benetton and then they go to La Rochelle away. So this is a huge game this weekend. If they lose against Benetton, and I said it a few weeks ago, the coaching staff are going to come under huge, huge pressure.
You say gain line, but I look at you've got Henderson, you've got Vermeulen, McCloskey. Vermeulen doesn't carry well.
Vermeulen doesn't carry well. No, he doesn't carry well.
What does he do then?
Get them across the gain line. He gets over the breakdowns. He makes his tackles. He's an unbelievable mauler, really good defensive mauler. He's good under the restarts. He's a ridiculous line-out option. He's a brilliant lifter. I'll keep going if you want, but he doesn't carry the ball well, and neither does Henderson. So, you put Greg Jones into the back row. He doesn't carry the ball well either. Rafael in the back row at the weekend. He's not a strong carrier. So, like, where do you get your momentum? Where do you get your go forward? You can't ask Stuart McCluskey to carry the ball up every other time. So,
Well, that's
like,
Faz,
in my opinion.
Yeah, and I agree. And we spoke about it, I don't know, weeks and weeks ago. It would have been now. I've lost track of the days. But the teams you listed who they've beaten, are big power teams. Munster aren't the most powerful, but you look at Sale, you look at La Rochelle, you look at Leinster, and I think there's certainly a gap forming between the very top sides. We know that for years in Europe, and especially in the league, or sorry, the other way around, probably especially in Europe and in the league, that the top sides have huge power, and Ulster don't have. I think Ulster are lacking continuity. I said that last year when things are going, fine, they can paper over cracks because they've got a good maul. But you're not going to maul La Rochelle off the park. You're not going to maul these big teams off the park. And then what do you do? And I think the continuity to their attack isn't quite there. I think that they struggle at 10. I think they need a 10. I don't know what's going to happen with Cooney. I think they obviously got options at 9. Is Cooney going to leave? This is probably, we haven't really spoken about it. If you were going to leave, if you were him, it would probably be now, if things aren't going quite like you want them to go.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's valid. Like, we asked him in the build-up there to the show about the Trimby sort of popped a joke. It was quite funny, actually. But he responded in, how realistic is it that he's going to play for Scotland? And he danced this whole way around the question and didn't give us remotely the answer that we were looking for. So I'm not sure, John. I'm not sure. Like I'm sort of having doubts if he's going to play for Scotland now. It's sort of like,
what are you getting out of him? He's 32 years old. He's 32 years old. What you're not going to get him for a long period. He's not like going to be that.
Or what's he getting?
Yeah, no, the Scottish team.
But
goal kicker.
Yeah, goal kicker.
That's it for a short-term fix.
Yeah, I mean, Finn Russell quality, but we saw if Finn Russell doesn't play for Scotland, the drop off in the kickers is huge. And if Finn Russell can blow a hot coal with the tee as well, he's been superb this year, but not historically one of his strong suits. Anyway, we're getting into an Ulster rabbit hole here. It was good. I liked it, Steve. It was good. You'll
bring Fez back in. Bring it, Stevie. How'd you get up for watching Ulster at the moment? Still higher than.
We'll move on to the Cardiff game, lads. We spoke to Josh Turnbull there, so we won't spend too long on it. Shanks, your thoughts on it? They came close, and then obviously went to the corner instead of, they went for the post instead of going to the corner. But it was a good game.
I thought they were going to do what they did the week before against the Dragons. Last minute, Domachowski scored a try. They kicked a touch, won the line out, a couple of carries. Domachowski went over, won the game against the Dragons. And I thought sort of confidence, momentum would be with Cardiff. They were favourites going into the game. Weather played a big factor, as it does, but I understand it's the same for both teams. Some just play it better, and some have got more options to play wetter conditions, greater power, for instance, greater set piece, like the Ospreys had, and they deserved to win. The Ospreys, that they had more possession in that second half. The penalty count was huge, something like 17 penalties. Cardiff gave away 8 to the Ospreys. There's no coincidence the Ospreys are picking up a bit of form. This is the kick that Jared Evans had at the end. Now, I think he's bitten off too much there. I think he knows his distance, and he's not a great distance kicker. You've got someone like Ben Thomas in there who can nail the ball a lot further. I think that would be more suited to Ben Thomas. I think it was out of his distance, and he gets it on target, but it drops short because he doesn't have a gigantic boot to kick it from there. So I thought that was a bit of a strange decision. There was no hookers on the field. They'd lost both hookers. They lost Kirby Myhill to a yellow card, which was a high tackle, but they couldn't get out of their half. They made mistake after mistake, some poor decisions in the breakdown area, which normally they're really good at. We're normally harping on about how great Cardiff are in turnovers. And yeah, they had a couple of turnovers, but it was decisions they made at the breakdown, which gave away quite a few penalties. Made a massive difference not having Arhip on the tight head. Will Davis-King played, and it was a tough afternoon for him. The Ospreys bench was really good. They had Dowie Lake, who had to come on early for Sam Parry. They had Nicky Smith, Thomas Francis, Morgan Morris was on the bench as well, probably their best carrier they've had. But Owen Williams, they brought him in as a short-term fix. He started against Montpellier, and ever since then, they've looked pretty good. They beat the Scarlets. Yeah, they had a red card to Lozana. And they come and did a job on Cardiff. Line-out was good. Moore was good. Big carries. Don't overplay too much. They keep it quite simple. They've got a couple of big carriers, and they deserve to win. So good for the Ospreys, disappointing for Cardiff.
Enough said. We'll move on to Scarlets. Oh dear, Scarlets. I mean, oh yes, the Scarlets, but I mean,
I've not seen this in the league. I don't think since we've been covering it. That amount of yellow cards and that amount of red cards. It's so early on in the league that you might have that at the end of a season, maybe if your discipline's been bad. But let's look at this. You can't do that. That's going to annoy anybody. There's nothing worse than being pulled or held back, is there?
You're stuck there. You're stuck.
That's something I do to my kids to pull them apart when they're fighting.
Well, they walk around the house and scrum house, do they?
Yeah. But,
it's just. I mean, we're laughing, but come on, man! Like every week,
you can't do that.
What is it? 2-week ban now. We've had Fafita banned for 5 weeks. Laos has had a red. Lozana's had a red. You've had 12 yellows.
11 or 12. 4 foreigners who got the red cards, though.
It's a bit racist.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I'm just stating the fact.
I know. It's their big players.
Yeah, it's their aggressive players, the ones that want to make aggressive hits, the ones that play on the edge of that, that fine line of being legal or illegal. They're, by nature, they are big hitters. They want to legally hurt you, get you high, hammer you in a tackle. And now when you go high, you can go higher than the waist, no problem about that. But if you mistime it just slightly, get your head in the wrong position just for that moment, like Lozana, for instance, you're going to see a red. And we see that tackle all the time from Thomas Lozana. People do it all the time. But it doesn't, but say 9 times out of 10, that tackle's fine. But the one time you get it wrong, and you get your head on the wrong space, head's connected with head, it's going to be a red card. There's a massive issue there with ill discipline. Part of it is they're under a lot of pressure all the time and defending for large periods. And when teams are under pressure for big periods, give away penalties, it's going to produce a yellow card. But the reds are the worry, though. 4 reds.
That one was the worst. That's the worst of the year, though. There've been high shots. There's been that, like, your most experienced player. Your best player. He plays well every week, carries the ball, and then he does that, and you're thinking, come on. Anyway, but they won. They fronted up. They fronted up, and
Spirit.
they found a way to win. Yeah. You saw the celebration.
They needed to. This is a really good try. This is from John Davis making a decision. Scott Williams goes off early. They take it up well, straight off the scrum, straight over the game line, 2 carries. They get themselves in a great position. And then, it's the Scarlets attack that we're used to seeing, the interlinking play, the decoy runners, the 2 waves of attack. Dane Blacker does well here for his try, spots a gap, makes up for missing a tackle on Rio Dyer in the backline because scrum halves now have to defend a lot, majority in the backline, Lofton on the blind side. And the game was won here, but great finish for them. It meant a lot to them.
Just on Lee Halfpenny, how important is he for the Scarlets? Because he's obviously been missing for a large chunk of this season, but he is robotic with the boot, keeps the scoreboard ticking over, very solid in the backfield. Like, if Scarlets are to start climbing this table, they need to keep that man in form. I thought he was brilliant.
They do. They've got a lot of players. It's players being able to complement each other. Like the back line of 3 Lee Halfpennies wouldn't work, or 2 Lee Halfpennies wouldn't work. But when you've got like a Johnny McNichol, a guy that is elusive, great on his feet, runs the ball back, really, really massive threat, ball in hand. It works well because the pressure that is then off Lee Halfpenny a little bit to create that magic moment. He can just be the sweeper at the back. He can be the one to collect the high balls, to nail attackers when they come through, the last point of defense, and also then just to drill his goals because Reece Patchell doesn't have the kick. doesn't have the accuracy Halfpenny has. Neither does Costello. So he is so valuable to them, and he fits in that balance of that back three really well because you can pair him with your Combiers, your McNichols, your Steph Evanses, your Tom Rogerses. So yeah,
Tom Rogers. We'll move on. We spent a lot of time on the Ulster game. Just quickly on the Leinster game, a couple of talking points. Leinster 11 from 11. Same story. Connacht in the game for good chunks of it. I thought Sexton he went off injured. He's gone for. It sounds like he's I wouldn't want to guess. It sounds
surgery yesterday morning.
He had a plate in his cheekbone or something. Should that have been a yellow?
Jeez, I tell you what, if Butler had went down and milked it, it could easily have been a yellow, even a red card. Like, we all know he's very upright in the tackle, always has been. The choke tackle when it was brought in by Les Kiss, 2008-9, he's kind of stuck with that, tackling very upright, and he gets it all wrong. And I think it's his eye socket or cheekbone that he fractured, so he's going to be out for the guts of 6 weeks, possibly with that. I think it was surgery yesterday morning. But Leinster lads, they look so well drilled. They really do. 26 points to 14. Could have been a bit of a turning point. Connacht were sort of hammering on the door, and then Leinster just went, you know what, we're just going to stick it into overdrive here, and they absolutely dominated. Key players playing well. Jordan Larmour back again. It's just serious speed on him, acceleration, power. Just look at this here. Cuts back inside and then actually gets back on the end of it.
I think he's the same guy, but 3 times.
It's a game of touch, isn't it? It shows you rugby's still an evasive game. Like, you evade tackles and you run away from defenders. There's going to be space and someone as good as that. I tell you, Stevie, who I was impressed with, Natai at 12. Like, his distribution, his carrying. Like, I've obviously seen him through this season, but this game, he just seemed to go on another level there of just decision making for your 12.
He played really well, and it was who did they score? He gave the offload. Remember, was it against Munster in the league? Where he gave the offload right in the far corner, and he scored. They got over for the try, but he came to life when Leinster played Racing 92 away from home. And he was sensational in that game when they pumped Racing away, and he's just kicking on. And I think Robbie Henshaw, I hear, has got a number of injuries, so he's not going to be available for the next number of weeks. So Nagtai is going to be the guy to go in there. I think he's going to be the first choice 12. And Ringrose is playing unbelievable. Like, he's captain of the side. And I think Leinster are going to be the team to beat this season, lads. I know we say it every season, but I really do.
Can Leinster go unbeaten?
Yeah.
Till the final. So Stormers or the Bulls beat them.
Sharks are going to come good.
You reckon? Oh, here we go. We'll get predictions later. We'll talk about some of the South African games. A couple of nice tries. The Stormers. I mean, the results were as you'd expect. I think the Stormers, given the Lions a bit of a hiding. Love watching the Stormers play. We're big fans of John Dobson, and did everything they could just to get the job done.
It's easy that. Some of these tries are just way too easy. I mean, look, you have to work for this driving lineup, but then just the pace he got, momentum just took him over. Huge gaps everywhere. It was like half a break. Link try.
Yeah, they're looking good though. Like the way.
Where's Evan Ruas?
Watch this guy here. Watch Diamond here. I am your angel. Season's greeting from the Stormers. That was the commentary as this guy goes in. Angelo Davids.
They're going to be near the end of the season when it gets firm again. Firm tracks. Flip me.
Pace,
they look dangerous.
Power.
Speed, I mean, because the Lions are no slouches either. I mean, they're pretty garbage in this game, and they look pretty sluggish defensively. But bloody hell, some of the tries they've scored and the guys they've got playing for them is pretty scary. The Sharks put the Bulls away. And the Sharks obviously saw Khaleesi's leaving, going to Racing. Went for the culture, probably, I'd guess.
Yeah, definitely the coffee, the culture. the food,
couple 100,000 other reasons, I'd say.
Messi's wage.
Yeah. We'll move on, lads. We a bit over here. Rants of the week. Anyone got a rant? Or we could start rant of the year or rant rants of the week. Let's take them there. I'm trying to make
weather. I'm sick of the weather, lads. I'm so sick of it. Like, it ruins games a lot of the time. Trying to do stuff with your kids is a nightmare. I'm to go to play centres, trampoline in play. I went the same day as you, John. Trampoline in place. Send you a text saying, "Look what my life is," and I was so happy because you sent the same one back.
Exact same one.
Soft play. I'm sick of soft play.
I hate it.
I'm sick of not playing golf. So.
Yeah, we've got to get that should be our resolution. We'll get a game of golf in, the three of us somewhere. Pretend we're more than colleagues.
If we can find Colin Stafford head of production
no chance.
at Viaplay, then we got a chance because he's got to pay for it.
Anyone's seen him, give us a shout. Stevie, any rants for you?
No, not really.
Had it already.
I'm just trying to be positive this year.
They sound all right. As long as we don't speak about Ulster, fine.
Which is going to be difficult, but considering Ulster in a bit of a slump. But no, I'm all good, John. I was sick over Christmas, so I'm just trying to stay healthy. 2023 going to be healthy.
I got a rant. It's been bugging me for a while, and I didn't know. Just kept forgetting about it. You know those horns, the French horns that you hear, at the start of kickoff in France. Yeah, and I'm hearing it in Dublin, and I'm hearing it in Wales, and I'm thinking that's enough. It's a French thing. It's got to stay in France. I know we're all multicultural now. No one likes it anywhere else but France. It's brilliant in France, so just cut it out. There we go. That was the rant. Something a bit different. Had to think of that one. Presenter's choice, first one of the year. Best URC rivalry. Dark horses to make playoffs. Thoughts on the dart. We'll go in the darts then. We're going to the darts final. We spoke about it a bit before we came on, but go on, lads.
I reckon that's some of the best TV I've ever watched, sporting wise. Glued to it. Those two double potential 9 darters was you could not look away. Like it was amazing. The commentary was brilliant on it, and it just Smith had to get it then, didn't he? After Van Gerwen missed it, you think he can't get it, and it was amazing. I love the final. I've loved watching the darts all the way through. I say it every year. I want to go, but I never do. But I have booked Cardiff on the 9th of Feb to go watch it.
Lovely.
Premier League.
I like darts. I like the atmosphere, and I like beer. So,
quick question: why does everyone hate? I don't really follow the dart. I watched a bit of that. Saw the stuff on socials. Why does Geraint Price get such a hard time?
Because he's Welsh.
Everyone's xenophobic.
Johnny Clayton doesn't.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. Geraint Price, I think he's a bit like Van Gerwen, Shanks, isn't he? With his hands up the crowd, and he tries to who was it? Gary Anderson, the Scottish guy, a couple of years ago in the semi-final. Like he was standing right behind him, and they were facing off on the stage, and he seems to have he's like the bad guy. Yeah, he's like the bad guy. But I quite like him. I think he's pretty good entertainment. You played with him, John?
Yeah, I always check. I played with him at Glasgow. He was there for 6 months on loan, and he was the nicest guy. And that's why I don't know why I don't follow it. Like I said, and if he's trying to wind people up or he's trying to play mind games, and that's pissed people off. But yeah, he's made the right career choice, I think. So you said he was thinking about going back to rugby, maybe.
Yeah, he said in a press conference that he misses his old life, and I think he enjoys the gym and keeping himself fit and active. Where obviously darts, you're confined to a room, or 7'10" and a quarter or something, hockey for days on end practicing. So I'm sure it can be boring enough. I see he does a lot of Instagram live videos, plays people online, and just to keep himself occupied. So imagine him making a return to one of the club rugby teams. And
the thing is, though, when he used to being an individual sportsman, and you walk out to Vanilla Ice, baby, and they're cheering you or not, still then to sort of filter back into a team and be part of that. And also, imagine any missed line-out throws or anything like that, he's just going to get hammered, isn't he? But
Do you reckon he would come on the show? Do you reckon we could get him on?
Yeah, I reckon we could.
There's a challenge.
Should we try and get him on? But like, just with it, like, he doesn't like the crowd booing him. He sort of said he might not play again in Ali Pali because of what he was getting, the abuse he's getting from the crowd. He had the big ear protectors on, didn't he? But then you can't turn to the crowd and go like this. You know, saying,
give it a big one.
Can't hear, like I can't hear. It's a bit of a two-way thing, but I get it. You know, there's quite a few darts players. Sousa was another one. I think the Scots guy said like some of the abuse they get there is absolutely appalling, and part of that is because people have had bets on them, and you know, there's people's bets aren't coming in.
Even as well,
and everyone is absolutely hammered.
Well,
so don't abuse darts players.
Maybe we can try and get him on, or maybe we can have a social there as well. Would you quickly final thoughts for the week? We'll fire through them quickly. Give us your predictions. Dragons, Bulls, Dragons.
Bulls, Dragons really disappointing. I thought we'd seen them climbing up, and they thought they were getting better. I thought they were getting better and better, and then they had the performance against the Scarlets, which was so ordinary from them. But Bulls, too big, too strong, too good.
Stevie, same.
Yeah, Bulls.
Yeah, same for me. Munster, Lions. Ooh,
Munster.
Three Munsters. Benetton, Ulster. Here we go.
Ulster.
Benetton.
I'm going. Benetton.
Come on, Shanks.
I'm going Benetton as well.
Well, do you know what, Marty? I know we didn't discuss this. Marty Moore got injured badly at the weekend. Like, looks like his season's over. Tight head prop, linchpin of the scrum, very good at the maul.
He's been playing well as well, Stevie.
What's that?
He's been playing well this year.
Yeah, he's been probably the pick of the pack, the forwards. Like, so that's a huge loss. They have young Tom O'Toole, who has hardly seen any game time. Gareth Milisinovic has been really poor, like, since coming back from Saracens on loan. So, yeah, if you could be right, lads, it could be a tricky one for them.
It is a tough place, mate, Benetton. You know, I think while they're 8th in the league, they're doing all right. I know they obviously play a lot more of the Scottish teams, I think, and the Italian teams because of the way the fixtures worked out in the derbies. But
Benetton have only played one of the top 4, and that's been the Bulls at home. I mean, and they get 44 points put on them. So I guess it's going to be a good. I think we're kind of talking about Ulster here. I think this is going to be a good test for Benetton to see where they are too.
Yep.
Agreed. Edinburgh Zebra. Say if Edinburgh don't win that, I mean they win that at home, but they're 5 out of 6. They've got 5 losses in a row, I think. So Edinburgh for me. I'm guessing you boys are the same.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't want to lead the witness. Cardiff Scarlets. Cardiff for me.
Cardiff.
Yeah, I think so. Just so you know, I predicted all of the Welsh derbies, the correct wins over the festive period. Yep.
I picked Glasgow twice for the derby. Got that. Anyway, not competition. Connacht versus Sharks. Yeah, if they bring a strong team over. Yeah, also, what team they bring over as well. I'm guessing it'd be a strong one. Yeah, Sharks. Yeah,
Jack Carty has to start playing well. Like the last 10 minutes against Ulster last week, they were unbelievable. They were class, throwing the ball around, offloading, width to width, getting their really quick guys into the game. And then, like, the previous 70 minutes, they were kicking the leather off it. And, like, it's just so tough to watch. Jack Carty needs to get a hold of the game, a bit like Billy Burns at Ulster, and get his guys going forward, because we know they're a good side. We know that they can play a lot of rugby, but just haven't seen it. So I'll go for Connacht. I think they'll find a bit of their mojo.
Ospreys, Leinster for me.
Unbeaten.
Glasgow Stormers. In Glasgow.
Stormers.
Oh,
Stormers.
Is that because I said Benetton?
So spiteful.
So spiteful, yeah, to scribble his notes out there.
I'm going Stormers as well.
I'm going Glasgow just because they were brilliant. And
Think with your head, not with your heart.
No, I said if they can emotionally back up where they were in the
points.
last 2 derbies, they'll be in good shape because they've 2 back-to-back derbies, puts them in good spot. So that's everything but time for, lads. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed being back together, lads. Nice to talk some ruggers again, back into the URC. So yeah, you can watch all those games on Viaplay, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.